Welcome to Calculations, the scenario discussion segment of the Thought Brothers podcast. We've got Georgette, who seems to be a regular over here. We got Dr. Rick, Carlos, and Bill. All right, team, we're going to jump right into this, and here we go. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay. You are the owner of a small 4-unit apartment building. One of the tenants, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, reported a stopped-up sink and commode in their 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. You immediately dispatched Chris, your top maintenance man, to conduct repairs. Chris called you to report that he is standing at the front door and that Mr. Smith will not allow him inside the unit. Chris has you on speakerphone. You can hear Mrs. Smith screaming, "I don't want that man in my house. He's very rude." Mr. Smith turns around and says, "Jada, let me handle this. We need our sink and toilet repaired." Mrs. Smith, who is not aware that she's on speakerphone, can be heard yelling, "You need to be a man and tell that landlord to get somebody else over here. Do I need to call the landlord and handle this? That man is not coming in this house." Mr. Smith turns to Chris and says, "I'm sorry, this is not a good time," as he quietly closes the door. Chris says, "Boss, did you hear that? What do you?"
Go ahead, somebody.
Hey, I got it. Okay, I have to ask Chris, man, what did you do, man? What's the deal? What did you do? That's my first question. And then I guess evidently there may be something up with Miss Smith, Chris. I need some little insight to what's happening there.
Okay.
Man, Doc, I hear you on this, but I think what we need, what the issue is here, I think Miss Jada need to talk to Mr. Smith about what's going on in their lives so they can work things out. So Mr. Smith don't have to go slap Chris at the door. That's what I think was happening. You know, if you can't work it out at home, you ain't gonna be able to work it out with anybody else anywhere else. So Chris don't need to get hit again or once. That's what I get.
Hey, Carlos, it sounds like you've been looking at Netflix the last couple of days. Because if you've seen Chris Rock's special on Netflix, the last 10 minutes, he gives the last 10 minutes to the Smiths, and he gives it to them pretty good.
Oh, I just caught that. I just caught that.
I would trust to say the next time Will Smith sees it, there will be another fight.
Georgette, would you like to weigh in?
What's going on? Like, I feel that there's a dead cat on the line somewhere. Like, we need some explanation on why is he rude? How does she know he's rude? And what has happened in the past? I'm a little suspicious now about what's going on here, Miss Smith. And so, yeah, because if you don't want somebody to come and fix your toilet that's clogged up, like, that's a serious issue. So what's going on? It's a little backstory to that, Gary. And I think we need to figure out what that is, because there ain't no way in God's green earth that I'm not letting somebody come fix my toilet. Like, that's just not going to happen. I don't give a hell how rude he is. You're going to come in here and fix this toilet. So something must have happened that Miss Smith don't want Chris up in the house. So
peel some layers back here.
Based on the scenario, and this is based on a real scenario, Chris was over to make some repairs several months earlier, and Mrs. Smith just felt that he was rude. And that was all she said. He made the repairs. He doesn't get paid to win personality. He gets paid to go over there and fix stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, as the landlord, there have been a couple of reports that Chris has a little bit of an edge to him. He did at one point, a tenant reported that he threatened to punch the tenant in his throat. So there is some history there.
Yeah, okay.
And when he was called on the carpet by his boss, is it true that tenant so-and-so said that you threatened to punch him in his throat? He said, no, that's not true. I threatened to punch him in his MF throat. He needs to get it right. So Chris
Ooh.
does have an edge to him. So there may be something to what Mrs. Smith is saying.
Well, it's one of
Okay,
those things. Let me jump in here right quick. So as the landlord, I look at it this way: when you start messing with my money, Chris, you gotta, hey, I take the tenants over my my plumber any day. I can replace a plumber much easier than I can replace a landlord. So my thing would be to, if I'm Mr. Smith, I would just tell Chris, hey man, I'm gonna have to get somebody else, because plus, well, first of all, I guess the person I'm sleeping with takes precedence over all of them. So got to keep her happy. So whatever it takes to keep her happy.
Well, if I'm in that situation, Gary, I'm gonna tell Ms. Smith, I'm not staying in the house with no stopped up toilet. So I'm gonna tell Chris, bring it on in here, keep your mouth closed, go to the bathroom, fix the toilet, and go back out of the door. I don't want to hear a word out of you. So that should take care of it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because Mrs. Smith probably, Mr. and Mrs. Smith both probably do not want to use the Wawa across the street, every day until they get somebody in here. But Georgette, I defer to you.
Okay, so now that's a little bit different, because now we got a little bit more to the story. So, but at the same time, I mean, I'm looking at Mr. Smith like, okay, I'm looking at my husband like, okay, he coming here talking out the side of his neck, then we both gonna handle him like, we not gonna do that. But I agree with Bill, come in here, do your job, fix this toilet, because I hate to have to, rough you up in my own, because you in my house now, and once you cross the threshold, you better be careful. So me and Mike we gonna handle our business if Chris come out the side of his neck, but you gonna come in here and fix this toilet. Because I'm not gonna be in here without a bathroom. Like, we just not gonna do that, like you said. So I'm with Bill on that one. Come in here, keep your mouth closed, do your job, and then proceed on out of here. Or you about to get it from both of us, and you still gonna fix the toilet.
Yeah, what Georgette said. That's it, man. Hey, look, you're right. We talking about an apartment, right? So we need several, with 70 or 80% of the time, you're not going to have multiple bathrooms in most apartments, right? So you got to get that bathroom taken care of. You got to get the deal done. Whatever the differences are, go ahead, Mr. Smith, just go ahead and make sure that Chris does his job, gets him in him, gets him out, keep him away from your wife. And then, if you need to put a complaint in about Chris from whenever, a couple weeks, do what you got to do, but we got to get that toilet straight, because the bottom line is, we all deal with enough stuff every day. We don't need to deal with it at home as well. Bam! Bam! That's what we talk.
Literally enough stuff.
Yes, indeed.
Exactly.
And Dr. Rick makes a good point about, it's probably a lot easier to get another plumber than it is to get another paying tenant. So you got to factor that in and look at the big picture. And maybe, I know Chris is maybe a good plumber and he's not paid to be in charm school, but you can't have him offending your tenants who pay on time.
Oh yeah, can't mess with the money.
All right.
That's right. I'm in agreement with that.
Well, since we got a few minutes left, how many of you saw the Chris Rock special?
I did.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, you may want to go earmuffs, because I'm just wondering here. I'll just put myself out there. I didn't think he was out of bounds with the last 10 minutes of the show. I tended to agree with him all the way up to the mic drop, So who else saw it? You say you saw it, Dr. Rick?
No, I didn't, but give me a little synopsis, or one of y'all, about this last 10 minutes, because I just heard, was that the part where he talked about the slap?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
About the slap. And he brought up a good point. You know, he said people can get upset, but they put it out there. And when you put it out there, it's out there for the comedians to work.
You
with.
mean our relation, this,
No, you got this, you know, Jada runs this thing on the round table. For the
okay,
red
that,
table.
okay.
And, you know, she had a segment where she was across from her husband, one-on-one, and she basically told him, I believe, that she had
An
a
entanglement,
relationship.
Oh,
with her
entanglement.
son,
an entanglement
an entanglement.
I mean,
with her
cheating,
son's friend.
entanglement. We got fancy words for cheating. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, yes.
Carlos, you got to be politically correct. And politically correct is entanglement.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm missing something here. Okay, I gotta go watch the special because
Yeah,
missed-
yeah. Them entanglements got my transgressions messed up right now. So I just can't. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Spivey. Go ahead and break it down for us. What we got?
Okay.
what does that have to do with the slap?
Oh, you didn't know. So basically,
Yeah, break it down.
I'm gonna break it down. Chris Rock
Yeah,
basically
I
broke
don't
it
watch
down.
TV. Go ahead, I
Yeah.
don't watch TV. Go ahead.
Chris Rock basically broke it down and said that Will was already upset because of the things that Jada had been doing in their personal life. So Chris making the jokes about Jada was basically just an excuse for him to take his anger out on Chris. Chris even went as far as to say if that had been 50 Cent on the stage, Will would not have directed his anger towards him. So I think the title of the special, what was it called? Selective Outrage.
Yes.
And Chris was the target of Will's outrage, but Will was really upset about what Jada had done. And that Will, he's talked about how much bigger Will Smith is than him. He said Will Smith played Ali. He said, I played Pookie in a movie. Okay. He said Will basically took it out on him. And basically Chris said he knew that he couldn't retaliate back. Then you'd have two black men in Hollywood not working. So Chris did the professional thing, carried on with the show, kept his job. Now he's making millions more based on, you know, what happened. So that's a little bit without telling you the entire story. And yeah, it made a lot of sense after you heard the rest of the story.
It really did.
But I'm gonna say that, like, even from the beginning, so when I heard the initial story, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me, and I'm a woman, but I didn't see nothing wrong with what he said because I'm looking at it, and maybe because I'm a creative, but I'm like, he's a comedian. Like, that's what he does. I don't understand. I mean, yes, you know, what she has, okay, but he's a comedian. Like, that's how he makes his coins. And so it's all fun and games until I guess it's about me. I mean, I don't know. I just really had mixed emotions because me and my girlfriends talked about that. And one of my girlfriends was like really upset. And I'm like, but it's comedy. Like, I mean, they talk about everything and everybody. And so I didn't understand. To me, it was, I mean, I don't know.
You know what? There was a segment in the show that I think he framed it that made me think. Chris said, you know, everybody gets cheated on, but you don't get cheated on and then get interviewed by the person who cheated and put it out there on a national network forum. And I'm like, oh.
Exactly what she told me was at the red table or the round table.
Red table talk.
The red table talk. That's what she told me. She had an entanglement
with their son's friend.
Too many transgressions, baby. Too many transgressions. Entanglements and all that stuff.
About not retaliating because he said I was not brought up that way. And that's the way he dropped the mic.
Yep. He said, because I got parents.
Well, I had parents too, but you're not gonna slap me and get away with it, bro. I think Chris is a little soft on that side, so maybe he's trying to pump himself up a little bit. But I'm not getting slapped and not do nothing. So
Well, it say that we supposed to get slapped and then give them the other cheek. That's what
Turn
the
the other cheek. I skipped over that part.
Hey, look, I tell you this. I think Chris was smart though, because he basically admitted that he could not beat Will Smith. Pookie was not going to take down Ali, okay? So that just wasn't going to happen. But what he did do is preserve his career and put himself in a position to be much richer. So at the end of the day, he may not have got the physical slap, but his bank account is going north and Will's is going south right now. So think about that. That's the ultimate slap when you hit somebody in the wallet.
Hit him in the pocket, yes.
Yeah, he was looking at them coins. He ain't listen. He was like, I agree, Carlos. I think he was like, look, I'm not gonna get myself labeled on this national TV like that. I got too much money to make. And so he, like you said, I totally agree with that. But wow, interesting. I'm gonna have to go look at the special to see now more is coming out. I didn't know all that. And I'm like, oh wow. So very interesting. Very interesting.
All right.
Well, so was when he talked about Will Smith's last movie, where he was a slave, I believe. He watched it, went over again because he wanted to see him get.
We got to do something with your mic, Bill. You're coming in fuzzy.
Okay.
But what we're going to do, we got that hard stop in 1 minute. We came in just under the deadline. We done talked about Pookie, Ali, Chris Rock, Jada. I think we solved it. We just about solved it. It's done. All right, that's our calculations discussions for this week. Everybody be safe out there, and until next time, on behalf of Georgette, Dr. Rick, Carlos, and Bill, we'll see you next time. I'm Gary Johnson. We're out.
Peace.